Hi, I'm Dr. Shannyn Pearce in Lexington, Kentucky, and I am a huge fan of the Dutch test. It is by far my most used test in my practice. I've been using it for several years now, and I truly believe it is the key for women who need answers for their health, and I'm so excited to be here to talk about it even more with you guys today.
What inspired you to become a healthcare practitioner?
Yeah, so like I think a lot of healthcare practitioners do is I needed this for myself. So I've actually had kind of a very up and down experience with my health my whole life. I was actually diagnosed with fibromyalgia when I was 8 years old, and then went through probably every diagnosis, situation, doctor you could think of until finally I actually ended up in a chiropractic office, and I got an adjustment, and it helped me with my headaches, which I thought was awesome, but it didn't really help with all of the other things. So I started really kind of going after this whole healthy lifestyle. I started exercising, I started eating better, I started taking supplements. And honestly, for me, I was doing everything that anyone else would think was the right thing to get healthy and get well. By this point, I was already a doctor, I was already a chiropractor, I was teaching people how to live these healthy lifestyles, and my health completely tanked. After the birth of my son, he's going to be 7, tanked. I was having almost daily migraines. I was chronic fatigue, could barely get out of bed. I actually had to stop practicing for almost a year because my body hurt so badly I couldn't function, and we didn't have answers. So my husband and I knowing everything we already knew, we're like, there's gotta be something, we've gotta be missing something. And that was actually the first time in my career that I got introduced to proper testing to look for your answers instead of just kind of being a victim to your circumstances. So I did my Dutch test along with a bunch of other tests and found some fascinating information that truly led me to my health breakthrough. And it was at that point when I found my answers and I got well, and I could really say I was living a life full of energy and pain-free, that I knew that this is what I wanted to offer to other people as well. So the focus of our practice and our career completely shifted, full 180, and now this is what I do pretty much exclusively for our people.
What is your training?
I guess a lot and all the stuff, right? So I went to chiropractic college out in California, in the Bay Area, and that's where we got our chiropractic degree. And then we did a lot of additional training in things like nutrition and spinal correction and those types of things. We spent a lot of our career doing that. And then when I went through my health journey, we found the wellness way, and that's where we really started learning the lab testing and the functional healthcare and integrative stuff. So we kind of pieced a lot of different pieces to our puzzle as we went along. I'm now doing more of our functional medicine certification and things like that. So we're constantly and never ending our learning, and just adding new pieces all the time.
So you kind of talked about it a little bit, but do you do any other functional testing in your practice?
We do. So we have access to all kinds of testing, right? So for me, and what I teach and what I talk a lot about on social media is I really feel like there's kind of the foundational things that every single person should test. And one of my things is always, if you are a woman, you should have had a Dutch test. So a Dutch test, a stool sample, and we are really big fans of food allergy testing. Those are the 3 best places that I start with most people. But then, it's limitless the amount of testing you can continue to look at and pieces you can find. But those are the things that I think most people miss as far as answers on their healthcare journey, that if they've never done any kind of functional testing before, a Dutch test, a stool sample, and some food allergies is a great place to start.
Absolutely. And how have you incorporated the Dutch test into your practice?
It's foundational. If you are working with me, you've probably had a Dutch test. So I really start every woman with a Dutch test at some point in our first probably 60 or 90 days of work together, because there's so many pieces on that test that if we miss or we don't have, it really just slows down the whole process. So that is one of kind of our foundational tests that, pretty much everyone who works with me gets a Dutch test unless there's some reason not to.
What are the biggest changes that you've seen in your patients or your practice since you started using the Dutch test?
I think it's so different for each person, right? And I think that's what I love about the Dutch test. And I say this often is there are so many things that just going based on their symptoms or things I've known about them, I would have guessed at. And then you get their test back and it's like totally different, right? So every woman thinks she has high cortisol. She's certain it is. She's taking the vitamins because she has high cortisol. She's stressed so much. You get your Dutch test back and guess what? Her adrenals are tanked. or all of her symptoms are going to show that it's estrogen dominance and you're certain it's estrogen dominance, and then the test comes back and it's not, and it's a progesterone deficiency or something totally different. I think being able to really individualize those answers and knowing that a lot of times symptoms can kind of complicate the puzzle, and if you don't have just legitimate facts in front of you, it makes it a lot harder to make those choices for your patients. So ultimately, since being able to incorporate more tests like the Dutch test, people are just getting better, faster, more consistent results because you take that guesswork out. And I think that's really encouraging for people. Everyone wants to know that they're having a plan that's individualized to them and not just the coolest, newest thing right now. And that's what the Dutch test really allows us to do for people.
Do you ever do any follow-up testing afterwards?
Always. Yep. So they're doing it. Here's typically what happens. I'll work with somebody for whatever period of time that we need to work on kind of the foundational things. We retest definitely, but then I tell everybody, you probably need to do your Dutch test at bare minimum every time you're in some type of hormone change, right? So if there's been pregnancies, postpartum, if you're nearing menopause, if you've come off birth control, if you've had a hysterectomy, whatever it might be, you're retesting then. But I also believe that if you were to do a test like this every few years anyways, you're going to be able to have what I call true preventative health care, find things as they deviate and correct and fine tune moving forward. So again, I really think every couple of years you should be redoing a Dutch test and just seeing what your body's telling you in that season.
In your current situation, have you found yourself practicing more virtually?
I have the pleasure of being 100% virtual right now, which is amazing. So I actually part of my story is when I had my son, my first son, that's when I really got sick. And I do think a part of why that happened was I really didn't take time. I didn't slow down. I mean, I prided myself on being the mom who strapped my baby on my back and went to work. I was adjusting people with a newborn. And, I thought that was all great and because I love what I do. And in part it was, but I think a lot of why I got so sick is I pushed my body way too hard, way too fast, and didn't give myself a break. So I got pregnant with our second. They're 5 years apart, so I had a nice big gap. But when I got pregnant with my daughter, I told my husband I want to do it different this time. And I had my pregnancy with her, so whatever, 8 months since we found out, to figure out how it would look different, that I got to keep doing what I love doing, but not in the same kind of force or pressure that I had with my son. So I actually went all online. That way I get to work from home. I get to stop and nurse her. I get to do the things that I want to do and kind of have more freedom around my schedule. And it took off. And honestly, with everything that happened in this last year, it made it more accessible for other people to get the care they needed. It was easier for me to incorporate that. So I decided to go fully virtual, and it has been really fun. I really enjoy it. I get to meet people and work with people from all over that I wouldn't have been able to just doing it out of our office. So I love it, and I probably don't foresee myself going back full-time to the office ever, because I really like the way that this feels and the amount of people I get to really serve doing it from home.
So with that, do you see any out-of-state patients?
We do, yeah. I actually see people all over the country. When you kind of cross state lines, it gets into more of the health coaching realm type stuff, but everything that we do is still applicable. You can still get testing, you can drop ship testing just about anywhere. And that's what I love about the Dutch test. It's so accessible. You can do it from anywhere. I get the results in a couple of weeks. Go over it all on a Zoom call. It makes it really, really easy to get that in people's hands. So I work with people from all over the world.
Where do you see functional or integrative medicine 20 years from now?
This is going to be the switch. I think it's really cool that so I've been in practice 10 years now, and I feel like when we first started, the information we were sharing with people was telling people craziness, right? Telling them gluten wasn't good for them was earth-shattering. Telling them that you can use supplements in places of some medications was crazy talk. But over the last few years, I've really noticed people are coming to us wanting those things, or already being a little bit pre-educated and knowing they want a different answer. So this is what's going to, I'm going to boldly say it, but I feel like this needs to save healthcare. It's been going in a weird direction. People aren't happy with their results. They're looking for something else. And this type of work is the answer. And the more people who realize that it's a viable, very effective option, we're going to see a really cool shift in the way people manage their healthcare. And the testing part of it is crucial.
What do you like to do outside of work on your days off?
On my days off, which I have more of now, which is amazing. We've kind of, again, created that space for more days off. We are water people, so the lake, the beach, that is our favorite thing to do. We go boating in the summer, fires outside. If we have an option to be outside, that is where we're going to be. So again, just creating our lifestyle made a lot of space to be able to hang out with my family and my kids and enjoy the outdoors and get movement and exercise and those things too. So anything that involves my family and the outdoors, I'm in.